There's a lot of discussion about regulating AI.
Yeah.
In the United States, the leading vendors are actually actively asking for regulation, probably because they desire to participate in the process of creating the regulation. The United Kingdom wants to create a regulatory framework for AI that will actually attract companies to become a sort of global player for AI or global place to be for AI. European Union has already drafted legislation and tries to find a sort of right balance between protecting our society from the downsides of AI versus retaining a competitive and supportive environment for AI companies. It's not really regulation linked, but we just saw that a French startup received 100 million euros within days, so the sort of fastest and biggest VC round in Europe ever. So it seems we are or can be a player in this. Professor Heil, we already joined forces also in EU-funded projects a few years ago where issues such as data protection and privacy played an important role. How do you see the need for regulation, and what's risk and what are the opportunities?
Big questions. From a legal perspective, I think the creation of databases for AI application raises multiple questions. First and foremost, there is the question of a legal basis for AI applications in judicial data. In addition to regulatory efforts in the field of AI under EU law, important foundations and limits are being set by data protection law, copyright law, from which certain privileges for research and science can be inferred. So there are lots of legal aspects here, up to the question of plagiarism. Yeah, when an answer is being provided, who is the copyright owner, if at all? Yeah, and so there are lots of deep legal issues that need to be resolved. Privacy aspects, for example, concerning my personality, then also need to be kept, and so the whole thing is in flow. Yeah, and I do know from my contacts, people in jurisprudence, that these issues are being heavily discussed right now.
Mm-hmm. So financial services, the whole industry is super regulated, yeah. And an important thing that always comes up is, or two things, traceability, auditability. Can we maintain them in the context of large language models?
I don't know.
Open issue?
Open issue, unfortunately.
Will I actually risk infringing someone's intellectual property when using an LLM?
Needs to be discussed. Yeah, different views on this. It's really complex because American copyright law is different from German Urheberrecht, and yeah, so there are really lots of difficult problems in the legal domain.
I've learned that LLMs actually pose two very different problems to confront. So one is when the technology does not work as intended. The other one is when it does.
Yeah, good point. On either side, we have legal issues. Yeah, so if the technology doesn't work as intended, then we can change the technology. Yeah, but maybe there is some damage being done when it doesn't really work well, and when it does, when it works well, yeah, we have lots of legal problems that need to be solved.
And also from a sort of software quality management point of view, I mean, you typically describe a requirement, you describe the intended output, and then you check if the software does what you wanted it to be. So can one actually specify what a large language model is intended to do and then measure to what extent it meets those objectives? And also, would those results be repeatable?
Evaluation of natural language processing algorithms is one of the big issues that's now being discussed. Yeah, and of course, one can apply to some extent well-established techniques in software engineering, where you have similar tasks of testing software programs. It's important that the programs do what you want them to do. But here we have different kinds of output that's generated in a probabilistic and non-deterministic manner. So we also really look at the content that's being generated. So it's hard to evaluate and define testing routines. So this is really one of the big open issues right now.
In the beginning, we already said that generative AI is not all of AI. Are there other AI disciplines a better fit?
Oh, yeah. For many applications, just traditional natural language processing and text mining are really a good choice. They are well understood, and in general, we do understand what they are doing. And most of the evaluation, that's sort of being done up to now, has been done for these kinds of applications. So I think, even in practice, when you have practical problems to solve, so classical NLP also based on neural networks, on large transformer models, but like BERT and RoBERTa, for classification, for example, they deliver the best results, and so these are quite suitable. Yeah.
Who's liable for decisions taken by the AI?
Again, also a difficult question. What I learned is that people are discussing the introduction of new legal entities, like we had about 150 years ago, when in addition to persons who have a certain liability, there was introduced this notion of legal person, juristische Person, like companies, so we might also think about introducing a new legal entity, namely AI, and then the AI has a certain liability on whatever issues are being discussed, which kind of damage and so,